Welcome back, folks. Thanks for tuning in for another edition of Eonan's Edge. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Kizer Critical Mini. This is a CK Knives design that's actually built by Kizer. It's kind of a unique looking knife. So this is a full-size everyday carry knife. Once again, it is built by Kizer Knives, but it is CK Knives design. So that is, CK Knives is Matt Christensen. So this is one of his knives. So CK actually makes a full-size, a much larger version of this same knife. That is a custom-made knife that's made in-house by CK. So this is the production version on slightly scaled down of that same knife. So the bigger knife is called the Critical. This one is called the Critical Mini. So let's take a look at some basic specs on this knife. It uses Cruciable's CPM 3V steel. For the blade, it's a modified Wharncliffe stainless steel frame with black/dark gray micarta. They say black, but it has kind of a grayish black look to it. I really like the look of these scales, actually. The knife is very unique looking. I like what they did with the lighter gray micarta around the pivot too. That looks really nice. And then they use some plain gray G10 back here on the back of the knife to add a little bit of kind of an interesting look to it on this, going off this gray theme. It uses a stainless steel frame. Like I said, it is skeletonized inside to reduce some weight because it does have a pretty chunky blade on it. The knife actually, the blade rides on dual caged bearings. So it is not an assisted knife. This is a flipper. And it opens great. And it closes really easy too. I mean, it's a really easy knife to open. And it's really super easy to close with one hand. So weight-wise, even though the blade is pretty rugged on this, it weighs in at about 3.6 ounces. Fairly light. The blade is 3.5 inches long from the pivot to the tip, and the knife overall is 7.25 inches long. Some things I really like about the knife too, I like the fact the micarta has some decent texturing. I like the fact that the stainless steel frames are pretty rugged. The spine of the knife, as you can see, is pretty thick. It does have a nice spot up here to put your finger. You can move forward, but you definitely have to kind of reach up for that purchase. But there's plenty of downward pressure on this knife just from the typical, most common grip, the saber-ish looking grip that you get here. As far as the grip length, it's pretty good. You can get all 4 fingers on there, but for me, my 4th finger kind of sets right here, right where this transition, this taper is on the back of the knife. But it is a full frame knife. You definitely can, see that it's ruggedly built. And the fit and finish, it's a Kizer knife. The fit and finish is fantastic. The blade finish, there's no play in it whatsoever. It locks up really, really solid, as you can see. Every time, flips open beautifully on these bearings. I mean, the blade is just super silky smooth. So I really do like the design of the knife. It does have a deep pocket carry clip. Goes almost all the way to the back edge of the knife. Like I said, I love the little touches here. Like they use this G10 in the back that's all textured with a nice little kind of touch of gray in there like they did on the pivot. So overall, it's a comfortable knife. It's really unique looking. It's not super big in your pocket. It does have a beefy blade on it. So the cost on this knife is going to be right around $90. I've seen it for 85 or 6. I think I paid $88 for it. but right around 90 bucks is where you should be looking at cost-wise on this knife. So the pros on it, it is a unique design. It is a really cool looking knife. It's something different. It's not the average looking knife that you'd put in your pocket. It feels good in the hand. It uses the 3CV steel. You can see that there. It's crucible powdered metallurgy 3V. So again, great steel as far as it's very tough and it has good edge retention. Lately, I've been testing a lot of knives. I've been using the knives to shave 2x4s down, making small shavings like you'd make a fire with or something like that. Cutting cardboard boxes with it. I'll talk about what I think of how the knife cuts through cardboard boxes. And also, I've been cutting tie wraps off of some wood just to kind of test the knives to see how they cut and whether they hold a solid edge afterwards. This one does all of that. Really solid. It's a really solid knife. I think it's super smooth with the bearings. The fit and finish is great. The 3V steel is very rugged blade steel. So it has 3%, just under 3% chromium in it. And that supposedly, according to Crucible, that makes really small, hard carbides, which make great knife steel, make it tough and have good edge retention. It's supposed to be a 60 Rockwell hardness heat treatment, so it's going to be a pretty durable knife. The cons on this knife, and there's only a couple, the blade is very thick. It doesn't really thin out till it gets way down here. You can see even the tip of the knife is pretty thick. So there's a thick spine, and that follows almost all the way down to the tip at the front. So it may feel a little slow cutting through stuff because when you push a big blade through certain things, it's going to feel a little bit kind of slow slicing through things. It cuts really well, but it's going to probably take a little bit more hand pressure than a smaller or a thinner blade profile would take. Also, the 3V is not a true stainless. So just so you know, this knife contains about 7.5% chromium, and 11% or more is what they consider to be true stainless. So you're going to want to wipe this down and oil it when you've exposed it to moisture or water or a lot of situations where maybe you might fold up a full stainless blade and just put it in your pocket and forget about it. You're going to probably want to make sure that you wipe this knife down every so often if you're putting it into use out in the field, to make sure that it doesn't get any surface rust on it. And it could probably discolor a little bit because, again, it's not a true stainless blade. One other small nitpick that I have, I wish the frame and the scales back here were just a little bit longer. Like I said, I really like to be able to get all 4 fingers solidly on the main surface of the blade. And as you can see, for me, this last finger ends up right there at that transition. So I wish it were just maybe like a 1/4 of an inch longer before it got to this back taper here on the back of the knife. It's a small thing. It's not a big deal at all. I'm going to give you a couple of other knives for comparisons. So here is the Benchmade Griptilian, just to give you an idea of how the knives stack up size-wise. Pretty similar. And here's the original classic Kershaw Link, just to give you an idea again of how the knives kind of stack up size-wise. This is what they look like. So again, it's not a huge knife in your pocket. It is pretty light for what it looks like, and I think that it's a really unique knife to have in your collection. It's well built, fit and finish is good, carries well, and the fact that it's unique, like I said, I think a lot of people might be tempted to buy this knife just because it is a quality knife and it does look different than your average run-of-the-mill pocket knife that you would carry for everyday tasks. So I hope you enjoyed this video of the Kizer Critical Mini, CK Knives designed. And if you do, please like and consider subscribing to the channel so you'll get notified when I have new videos coming out, which hopefully will be dropping every week. Once again, thanks for watching and stay sharp.